want to talk about preparation for Thanksgiving. We're thinking, what do we do first?
If you have a home that's like an average size home or a smaller home,
Yeah.
but you're about to be bombarded with like more people than usual, how do you
So
accomplish that?
I do have a trick for that too. I remove a lot. I remove like pieces of furniture, any extra like decor that's kind of taking up some space.
Unlocking Saratoga's real estate secrets. Welcome to Selling Saratoga, a podcast about the real Saratoga real estate scene in one of the Northeast's hottest and fastest growing markets. Our listeners are going to gain expert insight on the best ways to make decisions about home improvement, investment, design, buying, selling, and everything in between.
I'm Helen Mastrion.
And I'm Noel McLaren. Together, Helen and I have the keys to your future in Saratoga real estate. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here on Selling Saratoga. I'm Noel McLaren.
I'm Helen Mastrion.
And we are joined once again by Darien Roselle of Pantry Hill.
Yay.
We're so excited to have her back. I think our last episode with her, you guys just absolutely loved and couldn't get enough of, so we couldn't get enough of her either. We had to have her back. Welcome back, Darien.
Hi, thank you for having me
Welcome.
back. I'm so excited. This is such a good time of year.
I know. Well, that's why we had to have you back specifically this time of year. This is like Pantry Hill's like
This is it. This is my
time.
this is my season.
Are you in autumn?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
this is yes, but like just the holidays in general. You know, I love autumn is my favorite season.
Yes.
But you know, as far as like Pantry Hill goes, this is a season. This is
Yeah.
when we're
Right.
you know.
Well, and you've already started because we've had an unbelievable autumn with such nice weather.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So I've seen some of your stuff that went on even before we're talking about Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
Yay.
we kicked it off. We kind of kick it off, I guess, right around harvest season because a lot of the stuff that we harvest from the garden is what we give for gifts for the holidays.
Oh,
We give
nice.
as hostess gifts
Wow.
around Thanksgiving.
That's a good thing to talk about.
Yeah, so
Wow.
we're kind of in it right now. And
All right.
the ball is rolling.
We definitely want to start by talking to you about all of the things that you've done and Pantry Hill has done since the last time you've been in studio, which, I mean, you're taking off, girl. I mean, you always have been, but this
has been a very, because I think that it's not a coincidence that it's happening in my busy season, right? The holidays,
Right.
autumn, harvest season. Yeah, we've had a lot going on. We've had a lot of awesome publicity, which is just like, you know,
Nice.
it's been really, really nice. So we've had magazine shoots. I had my last workshop in October, and we had women travel. I had my first international.
Oh my
I mean,
goodness.
they came
Wow.
from Canada, but
Oh,
like, it was
it's
still
still
nice.
international.
It was far. She came from Ontario.
Wow.
You know, and so I had only 2 women who were local for this last workshop.
Wow.
What was the
Else.
workshop? Pie?
It was an apple pie workshop. I had somebody come from Texas. I think she was like officially my
Oh my
furthest
God.
distance to come.
That's amazing.
It was so wonderful
Nice.
and just
Very
a really
nice.
good way to kick off kind of the holiday
Yeah.
season. And we had, I had a magazine come through and they did some shoots for next autumn. I had another magazine publishing situation where I had a friend come from Seattle. My friend Candace from Ivy and Tweed Photography. I've worked with her for, since we were young in our 20s
Nice.
and just kind of starting out. So she came out to help me out with some marketing materials, some things for this publishing thing that I have going on. This all literally happened in like 2 weeks.
I know. I feel like October's been a whirlwind.
Yeah. What's the
It has
publishing
been-
thing though? Like
It's
what-
been crazy. So I have another magazine that I've been working back and forth with for a couple of years. And so they really have been wanting to cover, you know, different facets of Pantry Hill. And so we've been kind of working back and forth about how to do that organically. Originally, they wanted me to cover my workshop, wanted
Right.
me to cover my own workshop. And it was just too last minute.
Yeah.
It was stressful.
Right.
And so I was like, you know, I really need some marketing material for next year for myself anyway.
Yeah.
Candace is so good at
Right,
that. Why don't I
right.
have her come out? And then we basically set up a fake pie workshop, which was so fun and very busy. And so, yeah.
Well,
it's
we want to cover a pie workshop.
yeah,
for
I
sure.
know.
I mean,
I would
come on.
love you guys too. So next year
Yeah.
is going to look a little different because I finally told everyone, because it was passed through the town and it's official
Right.
now, that we're building a barn on
Oh,
our property.
so exciting.
Yay.
So
Wow.
it's so exciting, and it's just
Nice.
it feels like the right time of year to do it.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
we're doing it in the fall.
Yeah.
It's a timber frame barn. We're working with tall pine
Wow.
timber frames to build the timber frame. Then we're working with Northern builders to do the rest of the construction. And it's just an awesome team, friends and family, like through friends and family. And it's just, we're excited. That's where I'm going to be hopefully moving a lot of my Pantry Hill stuff to, so it's not really in my house.
And we talked a lot about that. I think we all came in kind of, for those of us who are listening now, we're recording right after Halloween, right? So we're all kind of recovering from that chaos of all the costumes and the candy. And I was saying to you, Darien, like, I feel like I need a clean slate to prep for the holidays and start decorating. What's so nice about your barn being built is that, like, you're going to have your studio, like, making your house clean 100% of the time when you've got 3 little boys running around. Yeah. I struggle with that, and my home isn't being photographed for magazines.
Right,
so
and all of these things, like, it sounds glamorous and amazing. They don't walk into a fully styled home. Right. I'm basically like turning over my house. I mean, I have 3 little boys. Like, it does not look like, I'm turning over my home every time this is happening. And so to be able to have a space where I can be creative that isn't impacting my family, because the point of Pantry Hill is telling the story of our family. And if this is like impacting my family, just by doing all of these things, then like, what's the point of it? So it's going to be really nice for me to be able to focus on this as a job separately outside of my house.
Absolutely.
And we'll still be telling the story of Pantry Hill within our house, but it'll be less turnover is kind of what I'm hoping.
You don't have to do the dishes right away.
Exactly.
You can leave them in the sink.
Yeah.
You can leave
speaking of that, I mean, we had just right before Halloween, the day before, so I did this fake pie setup in the garden, and I had some friends come out. We set the table really beautiful, but I had to turn everything over for Halloween. Yeah. And so I looked at the weather and I'm like, oh no, what do I have? Is there any rain coming? And, just like the other day. Yeah. So I piled it. Everything got piled into the dining room because there's no time. Right. And then I was like, this has to be cleaned up. We're having people for Halloween. Yeah. So that's how my week has been. Things got shoved into closets.
Right. Yes.
Wait, you shove things into closets?
I would be maybe we should do that for a segment at one point. I would be so embarrassed to show you guys some of my closets and like hidden spaces. I really would be.
Me.
Well,
you do it too.
As a real, oh my God, if you talk to my husband, he would. I need like 28 giant black garbage bags. All to go around my house, fill them up, and then have somebody else move them out.
Take them out.
As a realtor, it's the bane of everybody's existence. Is the clutter, the stuff you don't need, and then it's overwhelming, and then you don't do anything. And
I
it's
did
horrible.
that in September. Like, so when the boys went back to school, I said, I am going to, like, we are overhauling. I'm going to go through everything. Yeah. And I brought giant construction garbage bags. I filled the back of Eric's truck with them.
Oh my God.
And I brought them to donate. You know what it is? It's like, now I feel like our clothes and that kind of stuff feels more organized. Yeah. It's the stuff that I use creatively now that is like kind of getting to be a lot.
Yeah.
So
I feel that. And we just had a garage sale, but I feel like I could do even more. Yeah. Oh, but it's very comforting to know that Darien, whose house always looks gorgeous on social media, and Helen, who is a real estate agent, like, you guys struggle with this too.
Oh, so totally.
My husband likes to say, Noel, you don't clean up the house, you just hide things.
Yeah. And then you forget where you hid things.
Yes. And
then you're like, you're disorganized. So we couldn't find any of our pumpkin carving stuff this past week.
Oh, man.
And I was like, I just organized everything. How could where did it go? Did I throw it out? Like,
did you buy new then and then find the old stuff? Because I've done that.
We didn't buy anything. We were just like, we're just going to wing it because we were also
I saw this.
We were very late with doing it. We only did it just, the night before Halloween. Right. Eric brought out his drill and he was like, I saw on Instagram that like somebody used a drill and it was like really hard on his arms.
Yeah.
But it actually just like cut right through.
So now this is a new tradition. We talked about creating traditions last time. Is the drill a new tradition?
Maybe. I think that he's like, we're going to need to find something. His sister said that, or maybe she said like a multi-tool or a jigsaw or something.
Oh my
also
gosh,
works
that's
really
crazy.
well.
I have hidden Christmas presents and found them for Valentine presents because I forget where I put them because there's just too much stuff.
I feel seen right now. Thanks, guys.
Always too
it
much
happens.
stuff.
Everyone, I feel like, unless you're really trying to live that minimalist lifestyle, which is not me. I've just never been like that.
I admire it.
Me too, but
I do too.
But I like the cozy, I like the cozy stuff.
You also had a shoot with Uniqlo. That's a big deal, right?
I did.
That is a big deal.
I did. And so this was my first workshop that I've hosted outside of my own home. And that's not really my idea is not to be like a traveling pie person. I love the idea. Like the idea is to bring people to Pantry Hill, to get them to kind of like feel and experience the lifestyle,
the whole thing.
Inspire them to take the lifestyle home with them, to take the recipe and our family history and all of that kind of stuff. So I was kind of back and forth. Like, is this something that really fits with what I want to do? But I was like, you know what? We're going to give it a try. And it was really fun. The Uniqlo reached out. They were launching their new sweater line. It was a cashmere sweater line. And they were inviting fashion influencers, which is just a totally different, genre, genre, like marketing thing up from the city. They were bussing them in, and they wanted somebody to come and teach pie making. So I went down and I taught pie making, and it was really fun. They dressed me all in like their, their sweaters, and it was in the Catskills at Hotel Lillian, which was really like a beautiful hotel, near Hunter Mountain.
Okay.
And they did like a whole, they had food and a cocktail class and candle making and like all sorts of things.
That's fun.
And they found you?
Yes, through I think their PR company might have found me.
That's amazing, though, and speaks a lot to your reach and how far you've come.
Really cool.
That's great.
That's
great.
I think we've talked about this before. When I started the pie making workshops, I thought that it would be more of a local connection, just kind of connecting with people in the community. And it has really surprised me, the reach that
it's special.
Yeah.
That it's.
Might you expand the pie workshops at your house to have 2 tables instead of 1?
Potentially. I'm kind of like, I'm back and forth about like, do I expand? I love the intimate setting of having, 12 people, the maximum of 12. I actually I set a maximum of 12. I prefer like a smaller class. I prefer like a class of 8.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah. And so when people come, I feel like, it's getting to the point where this is like a special experience for them to come. And so I want to make sure that I can interact with every single person. And so I'm going to
clone yourself.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, like I have my mom next to me, like my sisters, my aunt, they're all kind of helping create that warmth.
Right.
But I just want to make sure people are traveling a long ways.
Right. And they get you.
And they're connecting with me over the things like they feel a personal connection with the things that I'm doing. And so I want to be able to give that back to them.
Yeah. Right.
And so I'm playing around with like maybe adding more days.
I think that's a better idea. Absolutely. Think about a dinner party. If it's more, you don't get to talk to everybody. You're too busy.
Yeah.
And people want you.
And I hate that feeling, right? When somebody comes to my house and I'm like, oh, I didn't even get a chance to talk to you or to catch up or, like I want to know, I want them to leave. Like I want to know where they came from, why they came, which is like, has been such a fun question for me to ask. Like, why are you here? How did you find me?
I love that.
And the stories are like, a lot of them are really personal and just really nice.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
Yeah. Awesome.
That's great.
So I brought your pie book back, which
just in time.
Something that I found that was really awesome about this is I don't do a ton of savory pies.
Okay.
And so there was
like
some
pies?
Right. Okay. So we do chicken pot pie, but there's like kind of those traditional English meat pies. Eric and I have had the opportunity to travel back and forth to England quite a bit through his job. And so we're always in search of the best meat pies.
Oh.
And we found a few that were good, but I feel like I really should start, maybe trying to figure that out. This winter would be a good time to play around a little bit with.
Like when you're just tired of the same old recipes and you need to like feed your family something like different. Is that what you mean? Like
no, I just think that like, I love the crust that, is my great grandmother's crust, and that's the part of what I'm teaching. But it's kind of like playing around with the fillings. It's like, we always do the seasonal fruit pies. I think that really draws people in, and I think that's, in America, more of like the types of pies that we eat.
Right.
But I like to play around with some savory pies.
Okay.
Yeah, and they talk about, asparagus wrapped in crust.
I saw that.
Okay, so now pass the book.
Whatever.
Let's go.
Here you go.
All right, here we go. I'm next. We'll see. Angela Boggiano. Boggiano.
Don't know.
Yes, and if you missed this, Helen gave me this book the last time I was here because it was her favorite pie book.
That's right.
And so I spent some time kind of going through it. The images are so beautiful.
So now we want to talk about actual preparation for Thanksgiving. It's November 1st.
Cozy season.
We're thinking, what do we do first besides the 28 black garbage bags? How
do we make our house feel?
Well, we were laughing today because like the first thing that I do is I turn our jack-o'-lanterns back around.
There you go.
Wait,
can
we?
Yeah, I think we
did. That's actually the first thing Darien did when she came in here is this was our little.
I saw this. It was on the table and it was backwards like this. And I saw that there was like a face drawn on it. And I was like, that's exactly what I do at home.
She Pantry Hilled our studio.
I just kind of like, whoop, turn it right around because now it's Thanksgiving, right? And then you can repurpose the things like the decorations and yeah. So I think the first thing that we really start thinking about is, well, the first thing I love to think about is, versus the guest list. Like how many people are we having? Who is coming? Which for us is pretty standard every year.
Okay.
My whole family is here. My aunts, uncles, like everybody moved away when they were younger and came back home and had kids. And so all my cousins are here. And so for the last several years, we have hosted since we moved home. There's been a few years that we haven't. But there are like 20 to 25 adults, and then we have like about 10 kids. So it's kind of a big, it's big, right?
That's
and so
big.
That is a challenge that I love sharing, on social media, because people are like, how do you throw a beautiful party? How do you entertain for that many people in a way that like looks aesthetically pleasing, but also everyone is having fun, And so I start thinking about the table first. And so we have like folding tables that we put out, but I have been fortunate in the last year to have been working with Pottery Barn as a partnership.
Nice.
And so Pottery Barn this year sent me everything that I need which is like, here's the thing, like I don't think that's super relatable to say because they're sending me, 25 place settings for this entire table. And it's like, you're never going to go out and buy 25 place settings from Pottery Barn. But I try to mix and match with a lot of our vintage stuff. I mix and match with some of the stuff that I registered for our wedding. And so I'm just getting really excited about playing around with like, what are the textiles? What are the plates going to look like? What can I use that we already have to kind of mix and match with everything? What are my centerpieces going to look like? I felt really inspired by some of the work that I did this, for some publishing stuff that I did in the past couple of weeks. And I'm like, how do I recreate that in a Thanksgiving way? You never really know what Thanksgiving is going to look like around here, though. Is it going to look? Is it going to be snowy? Am I going to have access to some kind of like natural things that I can put on my table? Yeah. So that's always because that's where I love to put time into that. And then we start thinking about the food, and we kind of now in our family all have the thing that we bring, right? Like your special dish. And so it sounds like a lot when you're entertaining for that many people, but everyone in my family loves to cook. They love to entertain. So it's a group effort.
Can I borrow members of your family? There's nobody in our family. No.
They're such good cooks, like, and so the stakes are kind of high. But everybody, my mom actually is the one who makes our pies on Thanksgiving. She always has been, and she makes like 6 different varieties. And there's always an argument over like what type of pie should be on the table. She doesn't think that like certain pies should be on the table. My dad wants chocolate. Really? My dad wants chocolate every year. My mom is like, pumpkin, apple, pecan, pecan. That's also like whatever. That's a thing. So occasionally he gets his chocolate pie. His birthday's the day after Thanksgiving. But also like he can have it for his birthday. Do we need to do it for Thanksgiving?
Do you have a buffet or is it a sit down dinner?
No, it's like we do it like buffet style. So I set the table really beautiful, and then everybody finds their spot. We grab a plate, and then with the space I don't have enough space in my dining room. So I do folding tables down the center of the house. Like, so when you open the front door, there's a table that's like right down the center of the house, which looks really beautiful. Yeah. And then everybody fits around it. And then we use the kitchen. The island is where we put all of our appetizers, the island and the dining room table. And then all of the countertops like around the kitchen is where we set up the food. And so we kind of make a line right around, and then everybody comes and sits.
I'm actually really interested in hearing about this, like spatial, like wise, like how you set everything up when your house is meant for,
5 people. My house is meant for 4 and change, so if you have a home that's like an average size home or a smaller home, but you're about to be bombarded with more people than usual, you want it to feel warm and cozy, but how do you
so
accomplish that?
I do have a trick for that too. I remove a lot, because our house is probably set up comfortably to host maybe 12 people, right? Okay. So that's where everybody has enough space, in the kitchen and the dining room. Right. So this is a lot. I remove pieces of furniture, any extra decor that's kind of taking up some space.
Good idea.
Because when you get that many people, right, and it almost feels empty when I first do it, right? And so I'm always oh, it doesn't feel cozy. But when you add that many people to the space, and then everybody brings their things, and everybody brings food, and everybody has a cocktail in their hand, the room just kind of it fills itself, right? Right. The people become the decorations for sure. And I would rather have people feel comfortable. I'll remove some throw pillows because they usually just get tossed anyway, so that people have enough space to kind of spread out. And then if the weather is nice, we people outside.
So is there any catering done at all?
No, there's no catering.
Okay. Just checking.
Eric and I do the turkey. Okay. And the mashed potatoes. I do glazed carrots, and then we do a broccoli casserole. Okay. And then, my mom does the pies. My aunt does this delicious cranberry chutney. And she usually my mom will bring Brussels sprouts too. Everybody contributes. My grandmother, in the last few years, she always does, we have this debate too, yams or sweet potatoes. What do you call them? My grandfather was there's an argument every year. And right. So my grandmother usually brings the sweet potatoes, and she makes an oyster stew. Ooh, have either of you ever had oyster stew?
No.
Okay, so I think that this is
my face. I'm
I think that this is more of a New England tradition. So my grandmother's family is very traditional. They have. Some of our ancestors didn't come over on the Mayflower, but came over on one of the original ships.
Of course they did.
So this is the family that we have the family Bible that traces them back to pre-Revolutionary War. And so I feel a lot of our traditions for this kind of stuff stem from her. And so oysters were something that the settlers would. Obviously, they were on the coast, right? And so oysters is a pretty traditional Thanksgiving. Yeah, so my Thanksgiving food. And so my grandmother does this oyster stew, which she uses canned oysters. I'm going to be honest, it's not my favorite. My mom loves it.
Hope
she
Granny's
doesn't
not
listen.
listening.
There's breading and kind of almost a gravy in it.
It's I'm Scottish, and there's haggis, and it's
what's haggis?
Haggis is all the sheep's organs stuffed in a stomach. And my dad, McLaren's a Scottish name, and that whole side of the family's oh yeah, haggis.
Is this on Thanksgiving
or
just
in the holidays?
In general.
I'm just saying you have to have a taste for it. It's part of the
it's
culture.
I've had it.
I won't. I have never had it because I look at it and I'm
See, raw oysters are my favorite food. Anyway, I was just gonna say to my grandmother, I will try your oyster stew again this year. I'm sure it's fabulous. I mean, she's a great cook. It's got to, as far as oyster stews go, I'm sure probably it's the best.
Right,
it's probably the best.
Right. Well, anything dating back to that kind of history.
Yeah.
I'm about to list a house that is a 1793 original Quaker meeting house.
That's an episode, Helen.
And it could be. And it's a magnificent. I would love to have you come through it.
She's going to buy it.
2 entrances, separate but equal, men and women to the house. And it's renovated, but it's beautiful. It has the wide plank floors. They kept so many original details. And it's gorgeous. And every time I'm there, I think about you.
Wait, where did you say it is?
It's in Greenfield Center. They have a scrapbook from the previous owners that shows amazing history. And it actually was across the street originally as a church and moved by the Quakers across the street.
Wow.
It's on acreage. It's just really stunning. But they have that history and they have photos and they will pass it on to the next people because obviously somebody who's interested in a house like that is going to value the history.
Yeah, you're going. Yeah, you're. You don't invest into a old house like that without
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
You know what I want to know? I want to know where you get your turkey.
Oh, okay. So I get my turkey from a small farm in Greenfield. Okay. They're just kind of a little family farm. And I was connected through them through my friend Eliza through the Daydream Farmer. So last year, she has like a cute little farm stand. Yes, it's so adorable. Yeah. And she also does a co-op, like her you can greens, go. Yeah. Yes, you can buy like fresh fruits, vegetables from like all different farms.
Right.
That's so cool.
Right there on the corner. And so she sent out emails last year and was like, there's this small farm in Greenfield who has turkeys if anybody is interested. And so I said yes.
Of course you did. Yeah.
And so I contacted them. So actually, what's so funny though, is I went to meet the guy and his family is generational from Greenfield. And I was like, so is mine. And so somewhere there is a connection.
You're related.
We were like, I think we're really distant cousins.
Somebody married somebody. There's no doubt about it.
I was like, there's, there weren't that many people here that long ago. So he took over his family farm.
Oh, cool.
And so one of the things that they were doing, they have goats, but they were also raising some turkeys. And so, I just actually emailed him the other day to be like, do you have any?
Do you buy two? I mean, you.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you can't just buy one giant
I do, but last year, so I was like, we have like 30 people coming. What do I need? So generally, I think it's like 2 pounds per person, to be safe and have some leftovers. And so we ended up with these 2 turkeys, though, that were massive. Like, I don't even remember they were massive turkeys.
Yeah, probably 25.
Yeah, they were huge. And so he gave me like his 2 biggest toms. And then we put one in the refrigerator for Christmas because we were like, we do like a big day after Christmas where we invite our neighbors over and, we were like, we'll just roast it the next day.
In the fridge or the freezer?
In the freezer. I cannot even believe this thing fit in the freezer. Actually, Eric might have turned on the chest freezer outside specifically for this turkey. And then the one that we had to leave out to thaw because it had been, he freezes
it's just
them.
Like a chunk of ice. Yeah.
It was so big.
Oh my gosh. So you recommend going to a small local farm or does it matter?
I think that is like one of the special things about living here, right? Like living in Saratoga is that you have access to all of these farms and you know where your food is coming from, or you can find out where your food is coming from. You can connect with the farmers. And so that has, been more my goal as we've settled in and, just making sure that we're like supporting those local farms.
Great. Did you see the turkeys before you? Okay. Like when they were alive?
Yes. So they
offered,
did. They offered to say, do you want to bring the boys out? You guys can come and pick out your turkey. And so, we went back and forth about it. Like, I think that we have become, as a society, removed from our food.
Of course.
And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I would argue, I think you should know where your food comes from, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that there's kind of this like desensitization of like even understanding what the whole process is about. And there is like a respect, I think, in cooking food when you realize that it's coming where it's, it's coming from, especially your meats. So we went back and forth about whether or not to bring the boys. So I ended up not bringing them. I went myself, but we did talk about it, and I showed them some pictures.
Because I would love to,
we just talk about like, that's what farmers do. And that's, that is when we know where our food comes from, it's healthier. We know who was raising it. And so, it is sad, but that is kind of, that's how people survive. And that's, and that's something that people have done forever. And so we talk a little bit, we live in an area where people hunt. And so we, have those conversations, and Eric doesn't hunt, but like his dad did. And, there's just, so we have those conversations with them. I mean, also we live in a place where chickens get taken by fox and, there's like, we have to have those conversations.
Circle of life.
The circle of life and kind of,
How do you say it though for a young kid? Because I mean, this could come up, whether or not you're getting your turkey from a local farm. I mean, how do you tell your kids, we're eating a turkey that used to just waddle around on a farm. Like, how do you make that 6-year-old safe or,
Yeah. I mean, I think that we just say, that we go to a farmer and this farmer, that's his job. His job is to, we kind of don't give the details of how, and maybe my older one will start asking. And then, at that point I would probably take him to the farmer and kind of show him. And,
that's good advice.
I mean, but we, my grandmother grew up in an era where she would go over for Sunday dinner for her grandmother, and her grandmother would just be like, hold on 1 second, let me go grab a chicken for dinner. And she would literally just go outside. And my grandmother remembers this as a core memory. She would just go outside, grab a chicken, chicken, kill it, clean it right there, bring it in and roast it.
Yeah.
And that was nothing. That was just like no big deal.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
that was what they did.
Yeah.
You know, but it is hard because we do like the chickens that are around our house and they're our neighbors they have names and the kids love them. And, but it's just, I think just talking about farms in general and, you know, how that all works kind of helps bridge
Not
that
everybody
gap.
puts it together too. They don't.
No.
My
They
kids
just
didn't until
Yeah.
we got ours from a local farm too.
Yeah.
Last year, I think. No, the year before. A few years ago, we got one from a local farm.
Yeah.
And they were too young, but I would like to do that again this year. I'd like to get the name of your turkey farmer.
Yeah.
But I feel like my older guy who's in second grade now is just going to start asking. And
I think the best thing that you can do is just be honest.
I like the ignorance is bliss.
Yeah. You're like, I'm just
Weigh
going to
myself.
buy it.
Well, you don't
I
have little
just
kids.
don't.
That's why.
Correct.
You don't have to
Right.
get,
Yeah.
why?
I mean, we're trying to raise our boys with the understanding of their food and the respect for their food. And so that is conversations that we have pretty regularly with them.
Right. What are your favorite foods or treats for Thanksgiving? What are the Pantry Hill favorites?
I mean, obviously I love pie. I've had a lot of it lately though.
You ever get sick of pie?
I'm like kind of at the point where I'm like, I'm good. You know, like I'll have a little slice out of like every one that I make, but I'm not, you know, I mean, Eric never gets sick of it. He's always like, is there any pie left? I love my aunt's cranberry chutney. We also make a honey glazed carrots, which I love.
Delish.
Like
That sounds
gravy,
great.
I love. I'm a dark meat turkey person.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The dry meat is just like.
I'm
like the white meat.
I'm a white meat girl
Are
myself.
you?
Yeah.
Oh, man. See, we would be great Thanksgiving companions.
That's right.
Guys.
There you go. But what else for dessert? Only pie, ice cream, like what else? Anything else for dessert or just pies?
Usually just pies for Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Yeah. We
Just
do. My
curious.
mom does like a homemade whipped cream that she does for the pies.
Oh, that's so good. I
that's
would
a
that with a
must.
spoon.
Yeah. If we have like vanilla ice cream at home, we will serve it up with that. But if, you know, it's not like a necessary. But my mom makes so many of them.
Right.
She makes a pumpkin cheesecake, which I guess wouldn't really be considered a pie. It looks like a pie. It goes on the pie table.
Yeah.
You know, so there's like plenty of things.
So it's Thanksgiving. You've had an unbelievable meal. Everybody had pie and whipped cream and ice cream, and everybody's sitting around. Buckles on the pants are loosened up, whatever. What then? Is there any special traditions or any interesting fun? Do you play games? Do you swap stories? Do you ask around the table what you're grateful for? And everybody in my family starts crying because it's so sweet and people don't get to say what they're thankful for. And then somebody will come, you know, the uncles and, you know, my brothers-in-law will start saying something and they'll start crying and we'll be like, oh my God, that's so sweet. But when else but Thanksgiving? I think Thanksgiving is the most peaceful day on the earth.
Yes.
That you text people and there's no news on TV. There's that Thanksgiving Day parade.
Oh, we always kick the day off.
Thanksgiving.
You know, it's just such a peaceful, wonderful day.
Everybody is coming together kind of in, you know, this like
the
place,
spirit.
the spirit
is
of
there.
it. Yeah. We always start the day with the parade. So that's been a tradition since, you know, I was a kid. My mom always made pumpkin muffins. So we would wake up to the smell of pumpkin bread in the house. And that always like signaled Thanksgiving. And then we put honey butter on them. I make the honey butter. My mom, we always just did
love a honey butter recipe.
Oh, it's so good. I like honey and butter and just kind of like whip it up till it tastes really good. I use salted butter.
Okay.
I just think the salt adds like a little bit.
Zing.
Yeah. And then we watch the parade. And then, everybody, you know, kind of comes over. We do like a mid-afternoon thing.
Yeah.
But as far as like giving thanks, I will never forget this one Thanksgiving. My cousin Lima was, she was young, maybe like 12 or 13. She could have been a little bit older. And she wrote almost like a poem for each person at the table.
Oh,
that's really
and so
sweet.
She's so creative. She was at my last pie workshop. She's in college now. But she came to kind of participate in everything.
Very sweet.
She wrote, you know, something that we're grateful for every person. And, you know, I think that just at this point, we are very grateful to continue to have the generations sitting at the table. You know, I know a lot of families don't have that. So we're super grateful for that. And there's a lot of play that happens, I think, after our Thanksgiving meal. You know, if the weather is nice, everybody is outside. There have been some years where my uncles will bring like little like BB guns, and they'll set up cans outside so that the kids
that's kind of funny.
Like out in the field and, you know, just like silly stuff like that. Of course, there's like they play football and, you know, all of the and then we usually socialize. Everybody cleans up together, and then we sit down with cocktails and kind of like wind the day down.
That's
What's
beautiful.
your favorite Thanksgiving tradition?
This year especially, I'm having the most family members ever at my house. So the total is 17. But my niece and her new hubby, their newlyweds, are coming from San Francisco, and my nephew and his wife and their new adorable, gorgeous little baby are coming from New Jersey. And I have 4 sisters all together. 3 will come. 1 lives in Florida. She's too far away to come. Yeah. We don't get a chance to have all of us together. There's many gatherings. You know, we tried to do a July 4th thing on Long Island, but not everybody can come. And so you would think we lived in Siberia, not the beautiful destination of Saratoga Springs.
Especially for Thanksgiving.
Exactly.
Right.
So that's our holiday, and I try to make it as cool and great, and I want everybody to feel the love so they come back. Yeah. And it's just different because people sleep over. And not one day. And our special tradition, besides, of course, the meal and everybody being together, is that we have a pizza oven. And so the next day, Friday,
yes, I remember you said
we have like the pizza extravaganza.
Like turkey pizza, or is it like traditional
No
pizza?
Turkey pizza.
No,
it's all Italian. Okay. My husband thinks I'm robbing him of his Italian heritage. Oh. So his day, he loves Thanksgiving, but he's the pizzaiola.
It's good.
And so it's clearly everybody loves it. One year we did it Thanksgiving night at like 10:30, which was crazy.
But
it was great.
Yeah, to kind of bring out like extra appetizers and like it's kind of like at weddings now they do like the nighttime.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's true. Snack. So we'll do that on Friday.
That's how traditions are born, right?
But it's different when people are sleeping over in the house and the kids are going to be here. My niece is coming with her adorable 2-year-old Araya, and now that there's babies around between Araya is 2 and Hayden is 1, it just makes everything.
Lights everything.
Oh my God.
It does.
So great.
And it's like, that is a little bit different than because your Thanksgiving celebration kicks off when people arrive, right?
Yes.
Ours is a little bit different because everybody is here.
Right.
So, people are always like, how do you do it? It's actually like really nice because everyone lives here. So there really isn't a ton of, like I actually can set it. Like I'll set it all the night before. Right. And, but when we lived in Seattle and we had, family coming out to visit us, it was more of just like one big sleepover. We all kind of cooked together. Nice. It wasn't really as much of like a formal,
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to doing something more like that this year. Thanksgiving for me has always kind of been like my transient holiday because Christmas is like the big one in my family. My name's Noel. I was born around Christmas. We make a big deal about Christmas, right?
As you should.
So working in news, like the news doesn't stop for holidays. Yeah. I always chose to work most Thanksgivings. And so I can have Christmas. That was like the trade-off. And then even before that, we traveled a lot, like to different family members or like even family friends for Thanksgiving. So I'm excited. This year I just said, because the fall's been so crazy, nope, I'm staying put. And we're doing it. We're hosting it. And my husband's family's coming over. My parents are coming over. The boys will be there. So it's just, it's nice. I'm going to have a Pantry Hill Thanksgiving this year. And it's going to be great. Nice. So I'm welcoming all the tips and tricks and loving it.
I am now in a spot where I'm trying to rethink, like doing something a little bit different every year. But I think that one of the most important things and the things that I took away from my own childhood is the traditions of reusing the same things every year, right? And I think that there is such an importance in that, which is why I'm trying to like mix and match the things that we do on our table, because that is the nostalgia, right? So it's nostalgic to use the same molds that you use every year.
Yeah.
And it's nostalgic for, maybe you have a really special like tabletop turkey that you put out every year.
Or even just like the things you do, like the games and stuff.
The games and like, like the candlesticks or the plates or every year you use your grandmother's something. And I find that with Christmas too, the boys get the most excited about the things they remembered from the year before.
Right. They look forward to it every year.
Even more so than like the new things or like something else that we've done different.
Well, and it's crazy because we have, I pretty much do the same thing every year with the exception of some of my baking.
Right.
But this year, so my niece from California is a big executive at Old Navy. Ooh. She just got back from a trip from Hong Kong. They have
great little boys' clothes.
So, P.S., we're doing the pajama thing, which we've never done, the family pajama thing.
She's giving you matching pajamas.
And so Jesse
up,
is ordering, we got to pick, we voted, we picked. And
were they Christmas themed or are they Thanksgiving?
It's Christmas themed.
Okay.
Because we will not be together on Christmas, and we've never, and it'll be, my daughter's coming with, this year we might have boyfriends, which is just completely, oh my God.
That could be like really good and also like really, you never know.
I think it will be great.
It could throw off the...
I have a question for you that like this comes out of left field. But on that note, once the family starts to grow and gets bigger and bigger, have you been encountered with, I want it at my house. Why do you have to have it at your house?
Yeah,
like
a little
at
bit.
all. Like who? It's like a competition for who gets to host. And how do you deal with that?
Like at times we've had to separate. Like during COVID, we separated a little bit. My uncle's wife also loves to host, but she has a little kid right now. So like family situations change. My aunt has hosted before. My mom has hosted before. My grandmother has hosted before. I feel like I've currently been hosting because it's my job. So I feel like, I do love going other places and, but I also love having people at my house. So, it's a give and take. So I hope they're not feeling like I'm stealing it again this year. I don't know. I hope that they're all happy to come over, but you just, I think there's value in all of it, and I love being just a guest at a place too.
Right.
It's a lot less pressure. Yeah.
There's a lot less pressure and
Do you host Christmas as well or Christmas Eve?
Like there's so many things that go on, so many events that go on for Christmas with our family with like between Eric's family, my dad's family, my mom's family, and it all kind of gets mixed together. And so a little bit of that has gone on too, where we've had to separate, but like some of us are, we all want to keep the same traditions. So it does get complicated as families get larger, and
it's like adding boyfriends. It's like adding another dimension.
Yeah. And all of my cousins are young. Like I'm the oldest of all of the cousins.
Yeah.
And so we aren't really at the point yet where my cousins are bringing people, but like I'm sure my aunt will someday. At some point she has 3 kids, get to the point where her family is so large, you know?
Right.
I don't know, but I always have dreamed of hosting Thanksgiving in the barn. I was hoping it was going to be this year.
Exciting.
Because the amount of people that we can fit is like so much larger. Yeah. And I just think that would be almost like a really neat family reunion type situation.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
For me, it's like, if I'm going to get a little personal, go off on a tangent, but like I'm an only child. And for me, it's like my parents always want to be with me, which I'm very lucky and I'm very blessed. So it's like, if we're going to go to my husband's side of the family, I'm bringing them too.
Yeah.
That's perfectly normal.
That's have to do that. Normal. And so like, it's interesting to see the different dynamics and different blends and how things change, adding boyfriends, adding kids.
And we mix those families too. Eric's dad comes with us. His sister usually goes down to see his mom, but she has come to our Thanksgivings before too. So it's just like, basically it's like we are an open door. We invite neighbors, every year after Thanksgiving, which I love too. We do a leftover day with all of our neighbors.
And so good.
Like my siblings will come back over. Anybody who's interested in coming back over for leftovers will come over the next day, and I'll make a big turkey soup out of some of the leftovers. And then and we invite everybody on the street, and they all come in.
Wow, that's great. Turkey soup is underrated.
I never had turkey soup. Is it like chicken soup kind of?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's
I make it exactly the same.
Yeah, it's a heartier. It's my mother-in-law, Millie, who I've talked about, who was my pie inspiration. She would take the carcass, and it's messy, and it's the place is a mess after you've carved a turkey, and she would stick it in a giant pot, and we'd be like, oh my God, Mom's making turkey soup.
Is it turkey stock? too?
Yeah,
because you're making it like you're boiling it and you're making it the
onions and carrots and
like a turkey bone broth kind of. Yeah. It's so rich.
The next day we have it and it's like, oh my God, this is the best soup ever.
That's a
and
really
we were like
good idea.
Getting on her case about making a mess about making turkey soup.
Is it like noodles in it, or is it
you
rice,
or
is it whatever you want?
Yeah.
I think my grandmother usually does rice. I did noodles last year. Sometimes my mom, which I love, she'll do angel hair.
Ooh,
and so you kind
that's
of like
ditalini, little baby pasta. Rice, whatever.
It's so good. I love, and I shared recently I've been sharing some kind of like our quick recipes that we make at home, just like all of my heirloom recipes I'm still sharing through my newsletter. But kind of our quick recipes I've been sharing a little bit on Instagram. Mm-hmm. I shared our chicken soup recipe recently, and our secret ingredient for that is we put the gravy from our chicken dinner into our soup, and so I do the same. I do the same thing with our turkey soup, and that's kind of how we flavor it. Is we use a couple of spoonfuls of the leftover gravy.
Okay. So if people want, this is a very good point. If people are either hosting for the first time or are looking for an interesting, unique dish to bring to a Thanksgiving dinner, and they want to, take a page from Pantry Hill's book, would you go to your Instagram or your newsletter? Like, how do we get some of this goods? How do we get
I would say like the heirloom recipes I'm sharing through the newsletter. So I've shared,
sign up.
Yes. So I've shared, and you can sign up on my website. There's a form at the bottom of the website that you sign up for.
Pantryhill.com.
But it's kind of like this. I'm running into a little bit of like what do I do here? It's like signing up for a magazine. You're not going to get sent back issues. So I do try, so when you sign up, it's not like you're going to receive all of the packages, but it's kind of like an incentive, I think, to sign up, right? Because
have you put your Thanksgiving recipes up yet?
I've done some. So I usually share one really good one.
Right.
Okay. We roast our turkey in a very similar way to how we roast our chicken. And I've shared that online for years. The chicken I put in a Dutch oven, the turkey's too big to do that. So I just do it in like a roasting pan with, tin foil over it. Okay. But it's kind of like you roast it low and slow, and then you take the top off and you kind of crank it up and crisp the skin. And, we just use a lot of butter. And so I shared that recently in conjunction with the soup recipe. Okay. So some of those you can find on Instagram, but like the pumpkin muffins I've shared through the newsletter. We shared the honey glazed carrots through the newsletter. And I have been doing, if you weren't signed up for the newsletter at the time that I shared this, when I share it again, I'll say, just shoot me an email.
You're the best.
Okay.
And so I will forward those to people who are interested in
request them. All right, that's good to know.
Yeah, because if people are putting in the work to want to know the recipe, then
I think that's
absolutely.
great.
And I've said this before. My reason for doing that is to kind of honor the exchange that that nostalgic exchange of sharing recipes with someone. So you bring a dish to someone's house and they say, this is delicious, I would love the recipe. Of course you're going to share that with friends and family and please share. But I feel like kind of the history of the recipes gets lost in just openly sharing them on the internet. And so the newsletter is my way of doing that digitally to say,
one time I did bring muffins to my friend's house for brunch. And they were a huge, big hit. And she was like, oh, my God. She had a cookie business. I love these muffins. I really want the recipe. And I was like, it was a box. And I did not tell them that. I did make it. So it was kind of they still kid me. That was like 20 years ago, and I still get kidded about those box muffins.
I mean, I feel like we all do that. Like, what are some of the do you guys use boxed ingredients for Thanksgiving? Stovetop. Yeah.
But or some people like my dad still has to have the canned cranberry sauce.
Yes, that's the best. Me too. I mean, my aunt makes that cranberry chutney. It's awesome. But also
the can. I think it's my dad.
Especially for the next day, hot turkey sandwiches. So we'll do the soup and then we do open face
slice of that.
And we do just regular white bread, from just the package. And then we put all the Thanksgiving toppings on top. But the canned cranberry sauce is the only one that's
good. Jelly.
That's so funny. Yeah. Or brownies from a box or what everybody expects.
White cake, right?
Yeah.
Like a white cake is,
right.
I have a really hard time. I haven't found a recipe that is like, this is the best, just like,
the box.
White cake is hard. It's hard to get moist and, but on Thanksgiving, it's definitely the canned cranberry sauce and stovetop for us. So my grandmother, that's the other thing my grandmother makes. A delicious
so funny.
My grandmother does an awesome homemade stuffing.
Okay.
It's delicious. And But every year, Eric's like, "Where's my stovetop?"
Right.
So we also make him.
we do both. We're definitely a stovetop. That was what we grew up with, and you got to have it.
Time now for our real estate horror story, and I figured this has got to be like a Thanksgiving themed one.
Yeah. So we bought that giant turkey last year. We roast this huge turkey. It comes out, it looks beautiful. We're taking pictures of it. And my dad goes to carve it, and he's like, "This turkey's upside down." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, "You roasted the turkey was roasted upside down. And so when you roast it, you want the top of the turkey to be the part that's juicy and crispy skin and all of that stuff. And so we're laughing because Eric and I we had no idea.
All the times we basted it and stuff.
All of the times we basted it. We had the boys taking pictures of the boys. The boys that's something we didn't talk about though, is also our boys are very involved in the preparations. Nice. I think it's very important for them to be involved in those preparations of serving their family. So we involved them. But anyway, we had the boys were basting the turkey, whatever, stuffing the turkey, all of it's upside down. Okay. And then it goes into the oven, comes out. No one notices until my dad goes to cut into it.
Did you cry?
And I was like, "Oh my, what?"
Wait.
And I was like, did we ruin it?
Can I predict this story? My story prediction is that Darien actually found a new, better way to make turkey.
I stumbled on it, and then I shared it on Instagram because I was like, "This is hilarious."
At what I did.
We roasted our turkey upside down, and there's this picture of Eric and I holding up the tray, and smiling with each other.
Look at our proud baby.
Yeah, we're it's so beautiful.
That is crazy.
Then a bunch of people were like, "No, that actually is how I roast my turkey." What? Because when you roast it that way, the juices sink into the breast of the turkey, and so you get a juicier turkey that way.
So how was it?
So it does change your cook time a little bit though, because the thickest part of the meat is underneath, right? So you just have to make sure that you have a longer cook time that you add to it.
Okay.
But
how was it?
It was good. It was really good, and it was really juicy.
Are you going to do it that way this year?
Now I'm afraid to. I don't know. Maybe I should. I think I need to do some more research into why,
Right.
But it was kind of embarrassing because you take
crazy.
You take a picture, I'm dressing it with herbs all around it, it looks so beautiful.
Own that. This is when you say I meant to do that.
That's so funny.
Look at how awesome it is, and this is it's a better way.
I felt so much better about it after I found out that people actually do that.
It's a TikTok trend.
Yeah.
All right, so Darien, thank you so much for coming back. We always love having you because you give me so many ideas, and I'm sure that's why listeners love hearing you too. It's just it's magic. You create magic, and what's more magical than the holidays? So I hope you'll come back for something to talk about Christmas.
I would love to. Just having the ability to be able to just openly talk about it, in a conversation kind of format is really fun. So I enjoy being here. Thank you.
Yeah, and no matter what you take from it, because everybody's different, it just puts you in the mood and makes you want to do better.
Now I'm excited. I was tired when I got here this morning.
I think
we did.
We both had the same moment. We walked in together and we're like, oh, harumph, the Halloween hangover, candy hangover, and now it's okay, I'm ready to step into November.
Yeah,
with my head held high, excited about all to come. All right. Well, thank you again so much for coming.
Thank you so much. Yeah, this is great.
I hope to have you back. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. And if you have questions for Darien, if you have ideas for what you'd like to talk about next time we bring her on, be sure to email us at sellingsaratogapod@gmail.com. You can also message us on Instagram. Be sure to follow Pantry Hill at Pantry Hill on Instagram, and your website
at pantry.hill.
At pantry.hill.
I think you're going to find it.
Okay. And then also your website is pantryhill.com.
Pantryhill.com.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.